Welcome to the Questline Creatrix Matrix. Welcome to the Questline Creatrix Matrix.
Welcome to the Questline.
All right, this is an interview with Kade, our artist in residence in, I think this month is July, here at the Questline Creatrix Matrix. And you first learned about us where and when and how?
Randomly, I met Elle at a poetry publishing workshop, and then she was like, "Hey, we do stuff. We have an artist residency." And then I was like, "What the fuck is that?" And then she told it to me, and then I was like, "That sounds cool." And then I didn't message anybody about anything for months until I did, and that's pretty much the whole story.
That's marvelous. How long have you been calling yourself an artist? How long have you known you were an art maker?
Maybe since I was about 14 or so, I want to say. I had started painting around that time, following Bob Ross tutorials, and like just starting to do landscapes. But I also started writing poetry and performing it around that time too. So yeah, I guess I want to say about 14. I didn't really start getting arguably good at painting until a few years later, but the writing, I think I picked up pretty quickly. Yeah, so I'm 22 now, so not quite 10 years to 8 years. I guess
yeah.
for 8 years. Wow, that's weird.
That's marvelous.
I
That's
didn't
a
realize that.
giant chunk of your life to identify as an art maker.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it performance poet? Is that a title you would...
I would feel strange about using the title performance poet these days just because it's been so long. I don't think I've actually performed a piece since I was maybe 18. I would still consider myself a poet though. I've definitely written a lot since then. But I'd have to go perform again for me to start using that title. Although I think I was more of a slam poet before anyway.
Marvelous, marvelous, marvelous. That you've been working on what feels like it's going to be a book. Is that the case?
Yeah, it's a book. It's a book about a lot of things. Arguably too many things. We'll see. But essentially, I sort of started it at the beginning of quarantine, when I wasn't allowed to leave my apartment and all my roommates had decided to go home and I was the only one left. And yeah, I couldn't see my friends or my family or chosen family or anybody, and it felt like everybody, it was like this, I don't even know what to describe it in the air, but just like this, like a fear of what's like gonna happen next. And I basically, in that time I had a lot of time to reflect on a lot of stuff, from the state of the world and politics to mental health and my own identity and family.
Right.
More so blood family and stuff, as well as chosen family too, and just a lot of things. So I guess I decided to sort of put all of these different thoughts and concepts that I was thinking through into something, and make that something, put all the somethings into a collection. And I also painted a lot. I think poetry for me is more for processing, and painting is a bit more for like a release of expression, if that makes sense.
It does, yeah. Say more about that, will you?
I don't know what more there is to say. I can remember times where I've been really happy, and I feel like that's translated into a painting. other times where I've been more, the melancholy is taking me over, and I put that into a painting, and so it's a lot more maybe dark and drab and, whatever. And I can remember times where I was sort of like frantically and angrily painting, almost because I didn't know sort of what else to do. So yeah, those are just a few of the ways I feel like, I don't know, painting is a lot more of a direct, almost emotional outcry sometimes, whereas poetry is more like, I'm working through something, I'm thinking a lot about it, I'm thinking about the words that I'm using, I'm thinking about what I'm trying to invoke, I'm thinking about the imagery that I'm bringing forward, I'm thinking about the concept, and I'm thinking about the application the whole time. Painting is, sometimes it is like that. Sometimes, I have a lot of paintings where I'll like sketch a little bit ahead of time, but then there's some where I have no idea what I'm about to do. I just know orange, red, yellow, black, go, and then that's it, and what comes.
Nice. And you've done 2 paintings while you were here.
So far, yeah. I want to do a few more before
Good.
I leave. If there's time, if I can squeeze it in. I don't know. That might be ambitious.
You are here for a short time. This was a short few-day residency.
Yeah.
But once you are here, you are family and have a key and can come back at any time. You know that. There's a belonging, if you want it, that's available to you here.
I would definitely like to come back. This experience has felt really peaceful. I don't know if it's just being in a different space or what, but I feel like I would sit at the laptop for hours where I currently live, and like nothing would come. But here, it's like the minute that I start, it's like for just hours and hours on end, and I don't know. Maybe it's the place, maybe it's magic. It's just
I think so. I think it might have something to do with the trees. Did you vibe with the trees while you were here?
I did. Just like looking at them and feeling life force, energy, I guess, something like that. Maybe extra oxygen is partially to blame, I don't know. But I definitely remember just staring at the trees while I was writing something, and it helping with my flow, I guess.
Maybe. I don't know. I like that you've written and written and written and written and painted and been here and also gone up and down the mountain, and you had never driven up here before coming.
No, I've never driven up a mountain, period. It is terrifying. I don't know how y'all do that all the time. That is a wonder to me. This was a very cool experience, but whenever it is the next time that I come back up here, I definitely want to arrange it so that I have nowhere to go for a few days. So I can come here, stay, and then go back. Because I do not. No, absolutely not. It is a miracle that I've survived. But I did.
Yes, you did. We made you some canvas when you came up on velvet with recycled materials. That's kind of what we do here.
Thank you.
And
That's very cool.
I love that you had the opportunity to play. I think it was first day you made this drum.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about that painting.
I keep forgetting what the actual name of the drum is, but it's basically a drum
Is it
used.
the djembe?
No, we looked it up.
It's the Ashiko drum?
I think you are right.
I
That's
want to say Ashiko drum, used for like larger community ceremonies and such. And I apparently am partially descended from the people who typically use it. And I thought it would be a nice homage to them, I suppose. I wrote a poem about music, specifically about Negro spirituals and about the role that they had in gaining freedom. And also about how even when I remember growing up and going to my grandma's church, the music that I found there, I think is reminiscent of our ancestors, whether we realize it or not. And I don't like the way this is turning out, but that's okay. I wanted to create something that represented that for me, I suppose. About how even when your culture is taken from you, it's not really gone. It's in your soul, and it finds a way to translate and reinvent itself through descendants. And, you know, it's probably very similar, or even some of the same beats that used to be created by our ancestors with drums like that one that we still use today, you can still hear in the music that people make in that same old African Methodist church. Regardless of how I feel about, you know, formal religion and whatnot, I still think it's beautiful.
I love that you can find beauty and connection through the music. That's really marvelous. Do you feel your ancestry working through you?
I think so, but it's also... I'm just gonna make no face. This is why I don't do people very often. Anyway, it's hard for me to tell necessarily what is coincidence and what is spiritual. I feel like I'm very logically minded sometimes, and it makes it hard to see, if that makes sense.
Sure.
I don't know my ancestors' names, not very many of their names, or necessarily which ones are working with me, but I'd like to think some of them are. Yeah.
I love that. There's a line in Amistad where I want to be exact about the quote, but essentially it is, you know, that I'm the whole reason that any of them existed at all. The living form of now.
Yeah. I like that too. I think that's true in a lot of ways. Sometimes I think about, I don't know, just how kind of insane it is that I'm alive, you know? Like, all that, so much trauma, so much pain, so much literal torture. I'm like, it doesn't make sense that anybody would survive that, but they did, you know? It's crazy to think about, but it also makes me feel like something of a miracle.
Say that again.
It also makes me feel like something of a miracle.
One more time.
Okay. It makes me feel like something of a miracle.
Yeah. There's something in the power of threes in my traditions. And the truth I can't experience sitting with you is you are something of a miracle, or a series of them, in the way that you are engaging with your humane humanity and your place as an art maker and your words as a poet and your experience as a human being alive post-pandemic in 2022. Still alive. Tell me what the pandemic has helped you know about yourself.
A spider got on me. I'm an extrovert, first of all. Yeah, turns out not that easy for me to just live without any human interaction. It kind of drives me actually a little insane. I didn't, I think, fully realize that I was an extrovert because I'm also very anxious. But, you know, two things can be true, so... Yeah, that's definitely one thing that I learned for sure. What it made me learn about myself. Just how much growth I had left to do. I think I got the, how do I put it, the sort of busyness of the everyday made my underlying issues feel controlled when they weren't. And I think through the pandemic, I had no choice but to face them, essentially. Which is not always the easiest thing in the world. I think there's a lot of discomfort when it comes to facing one's own demons, but it's necessary because otherwise they'll eat you alive, you know? So in my experience, if you don't want to die, better to deal with them directly. In whatever way you can.
What are the ways that help you do that?
Well, art, for one. But also noticing how I feel and really taking the time to think about why. Think about life experiences that I don't want to think about. And, you know, reflect on why they happened, why they bother me so much, how they affected me, that sort of thing.
Is that part of the writing process? Looking at some of that in deeper ways, or noticing, or finding a rising consciousness?
Sometimes. Depends on what the poem is about. I think some of it, or a lot of it, is, very based in sort of observation, I guess you could say. But then some of it is more of my internal dialogue. So I think when it's more about my internal dialogue, then there is a lot of that kind of reflection of what happened and why I feel a certain way about whatever happening and whatnot. But sometimes it's about the world and about why that's happening the way that it's happening. So I'd say it depends on the poem, really.
Yeah. And how does your insight about the world come to you?
How does it come to me? It feels kind of innate. I think all you have to do is look around and listen to notice a lot of things. Some things take a bit more digging, but there's a lot of times when all you have to do is look to see the fucked up shit happening just in front of your eyes. All you have to do is listen to people that you've been taught not to listen to. Not always directly, of course, but, you know, sort of implicitly. What was the question?
How does the world, your insight in the world, how does your insight about the world come to you?
I mean, also the world's always treated me in particular ways. Especially me being black in this country, so things are also sometimes easier to see when it's happening to you as well. So paying attention and looking at history, I think history's been a big part of, I think, how I look at things today, because it history has informed what goes on today in many, many ways. So, yeah.
Tell me about the painting you're making.
So this is a god, an Orisha, pretty old one. An Orisha is a god in the spiritual practice of the Yoruba people, and this god is gay, to simplify it. No, it's said that his name is Oshumare, and it's said that he's both male and female. What did he represent? Good fortune, I think. And that also he looks after the homosexuals. So that's fun. And I've sort of been thinking and writing about how I think blackness and queerness seem, I don't know, at odds with each other. Partially the effects of colonization and how it's reframed gender and sexuality around the world to be this very monolithic or semi-monolithic understanding, when it's not that at all. And so I find myself, hearing my own people sort of be like, oh, well, those people are gay before they're black or whatever, which isn't true at all. I can't exactly just take the brown off and then just walk around. You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't make any sense. I'm still seen as black all the time. I'm just also trans and queer and stuff. So I wanted to portray something that's the embodiment of both things existing and something super old, as a kind of little fuck you to everybody who thinks that queerness and gender queerness are new concepts. No, it's old. It's old as this ancient ass god, and older actually. So politely fuck off is, yeah.
The place to come down to this. What are your hopes and dreams as an art maker, as a poet, as a writer?
I think I'm not really sure, because of the way the world is. I think it would be cool to be able to be self-supporting through my work, but I don't know if that's necessarily a realistic point of view. I mean, it happens, but it also doesn't happen a lot. So I don't want to get too hung up on a dream that's not necessarily realistic. I don't want to break my own heart, you know what I mean?
I do.
But I also think that while a lot of us have to work to survive and, participate in capitalism and blah, 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 so that we don't, starve and everything, I think that one of the things that makes life actually worth living is our passions. And no matter what I end up doing or what I am doing as a job or as a career, as long as I had people in my life who cared about me and did things that I cared about, I think that that was a life worth living. So even if nobody reads my book, I still made one.
Yes.
Even if I never get an exhibit for all my paintings, I still made them.
Yes.
I still did what I was meant to do, even if the world didn't want to be my audience.
It's a little early to decide what the world wants in terms of audience for you.
I don't know. It's just a hypothetical. What I'm saying is it doesn't matter if it does or doesn't.
Yeah.
We'll see. I don't know yet.
If there is space to risk to dream, and I understand the, if it's not going to happen, I don't want to break my own heart. I really hear that for all of us as art makers and poets and people in the mountains trying to do creative things.
Yep.
But and I think what you have said is really beautiful. I showed up, I did my part, I left my work in the world, I made my book, I painted my paintings, I lived my life. I think that's a beautiful place to start and end in. And I asked you about hopes and dreams. Don't be afraid to dream them.
Well, yeah.
You're making a god, after all.
True. Very true.
My experience here is you can ask for what you want and very likely it shows up within moments, if not hours, if not days. So before you go, as all of the artists who assemble here are invited to do, pick a tree that's yours to hold those hopes and dreams and ideas for yourself, and see if you can get out beyond trying to make it okay if it doesn't happen, and see what it feels like to let yourself want something that can happen, if that's a fair thing to offer.
I think it's fair. No telling if it'll work, but it sounds worth a shot.
It's free and it won't kill you.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Any parting words? What would you say to artists who might want to come up here? What would you tell them?
Do it. Do all that you can while you're here. Have an open mind to new ideas, but also don't hold yourself to such a high standard to create, the most or the best thing that you've ever done while you are here. But just enjoy it. Breathe and make sure you don't have anywhere to go that is down the mountain. Just stay and don't drive anywhere unless you're super used to driving all over mountains.
This seems like excellent advice.
Make friends with the trees. Make friends with the trees and the dog if she's here.
I like to think this is a safe space for queer artists.
Yeah.
Did you find that to be true?
Oh, absolutely. I had so many super queer conversations while I was here. It's amazing. Not to mention the rainbows just covering everything. So there's that, yes. 10 out of 10. Safe queer space.
Safe queer space for all things eco and artful is my new little...
It's a nice... Sounds like a jingle almost.
We get
I like that.
ever so close to advertising. Parting
Not
words.
advertising. Parting words. Forgive me if this takes a second. I'm like, what's good advice?
A wise sage.
A wise sage.
Oh, wise.
As a wise
22-year-old sage. You're not
22-year-old
you're
sage.
asking for a few things from yourself in this moment.
Pick good friends. Don't be afraid to fuck up in art because you always fuck up before you get any good at all.
Yay.
It takes practice to be kind to yourself. Try not to get too mad if you don't get it right away. And, you know, despite the circumstances, despite the world burning, despite being broke as fuck, or what have you, or heartbroken, have fun while you're still alive. That's my parting words. Good luck out
pretty
there.
Sage, baby. That's very, very, very perfect. I like the stay alive. Have fun. Figure it out. Come here, figure it out.
Yeah. Basically, you know, it's, if you need a place of, like a change of scenery, which I know I did, this is also a great place for that. If you hate where you live and you need a break, this place is pretty good. Pretty good.
There you go.
Fantastic break from all that. Free of a lot of the everyday stressors. So, yeah.
Thank you for playing. Thank you for coming. Thank you for making. Thank you for the part 2 that I know we are going to have for the whatever the unveiling of the book product, if that's a word.
It has a name,
What
but
is
it's
it?
self-provocative.
Oh, let us hear it.
Okay. So the pending title
Yes.
is Suicidal Anti-American.
There we go.
Will I have to change it in order to get it published? We'll see.
I don't know.
But that's
There are a lot of us.
Well,
Same.
we'll see.
Me too.
It's a different kind of.
Well, we'll see.
Oh my goodness. All right, we will see. Well,
Thank you for holding space for me, though.
I'm honored. We are honored. It is a marvel. You are fulfilling the vision of the crazy idea. And we're so very, very, very grateful that you found your way up the mountain and into the artist in residence digs and here at the making table and into the grand big book of everything with your title, Suicidal Anti-American. Coming to a safe queer space in the mountains.
Near you.
Near you. Thank you, Kade. Thanks for coming to the Crestline Creatrix Matrix here in the San Bernardino forest on the San Bernardino Mountains in Southern California. So happy you came.
The honor's all mine.